What message do you have for them so they can stay basically strong?
My message, hey, my man, Congolese, it is our country. Now, if nobody can stand up for you, it is our duty to stand up for ourselves. We need to take the direction of our country in our own hands.
Okay.
We need to rebuild our country. We need to change our mentality. It is very important. We need to stand up, make sure that we leave behind our disconnect. We need behind. We need behind what's not working in the past. We need to come together and look at a new vision, a vision of hope, that things will be different from now and on. But we cannot do it unless we are united.
Right.
We cannot do this unless we love each other. We cannot do it unless we will love our country.
Right.
So this is the message. Let's be united so we can bring a new story, a new course for younger generation.
We want peace. We want peace. We want peace.
They'll always make it look like it's good for the Congo. They'll always make it look like the people in the Congo are being employed. They'll always make it look like they're building schools and roads. But they'll only build so many schools and roads as to keep you fooled. And that's why 60 years after independence on June 30th, 1960, the Congo is such a disaster. This is capitalism. So go back to Maurice Templespan. Templespan is very close to Kagame and Museveni. Templespan is also close to people in Kinshasa, but not Kabila. Because Kabila, Joseph, is closer to a guy from Israel named Dan Gertler. And Dan Gertler was closer to George Bush. So when I was in Kinshasa, I found out that the rabbi, it's the Chabad of Kinshasa, the Jewish community in Kinshasa has been involved, in the Congo since 1920. Very powerful in Katanga, Lubumbashi, and very powerful in Kinshasa. And the Shabbat in Kinshasa today, here's an example of the racism. In the Torah, it says that a Jew can keep a slave, but a slave cannot keep a Jew. So it's okay in the Torah for them to keep slaves. So as long as Mr. Gertler has all these people working for him as slaves, it's fine according to his religion. So I made it clear, and I asked the rabbi in Kinshasa, what do you think about the fact that, Mr. Gertler has all these people working for him as slaves, and the Torah says it's okay to keep a slave? And of course, he didn't answer me. So again, you can read the end of that story about Dan Gertler, but I'll make sure that I send to someone the full story, which half of it is not yet published. And the second half of it has all this information about Mr. Templesman. Mr. Gertler has a mansion in Lubumbashi. And at his mansion, he goes there, he flies in from Belgium, sometimes from Israel, from the United States. He flies into Kinshasa, they jump over to Lubumbashi on their very expensive private jet. And they get to Lubumbashi and they go to their mansion, and he's there with about, who knows, 10, 20, 5, I don't know, other Israeli people, Jewish people, and they want to have their kosher meal. Well, where do you get your kosher food if you're Mr. Gertler in Lubumbashi? You have it flown in on a special private jet from Kinshasa. So there's a jet taking off from Kinshasa with the food, the lunch, for Mr. Gertler. I'm not talking about 10 lunches, I'm talking about every day. A plane leaves Kinshasa, flying the lunch for Mr. Gertler and his friends to Lubumbashi. It costs $30,000 for that airplane to go that trip each day. Now we're talking about a lot of money. We're talking about a lot of money. If you got enough money to fly an airplane with your meal from Kinshasa to Lubumbashi, that's a lot of money. But before it leaves Kinshasa, his meal is taken before the rabbi who blesses it. So the rabbi is involved with a man who's exploiting the Congo. But of course, Mr. Gertler, in the international community, he's putting on a big face of being a humanitarian. He's bringing jobs to the Congo, he's bringing development to the Congo, he's bringing education and health care. And like I said, if you're lucky, they go in, they build a school, they build a road, but it's not because they want to help the people of Congo. It's just a cover story. How many schools could you build at $30,000 each? If we took it away from that airplane flying Mr. Gertler's meals and we started building schools. And this This is the biggest business in Congo. Is not gold, diamonds, or petroleum. It's not coltan, which is used in your cell phone or my cell phone. It's cobalt. Cobalt comes out of the Copper Belt, which is both in Zambia and Zimbabwe and Congo. Yep, and they've been mining the Copper Belt since 1920. And the Copper Belt cobalt is mixed with copper, and the cobalt goes in nuclear weapons, nuclear reactors, submarines, tanks, airplanes, oil rigs, blast furnaces, anything that's big, industrial, and requires high-strength steel needs cobalt from the Congo. So the Congo's blood is all over the American military establishment and the industrial establishment, and all these aircraft and satellites, everything revolves around that Katanga, that cobalt. So back to Mr. Gertler from Israel. Israel was built on the diamonds out of Africa. Israel was built on the diamonds out of the Congo. This is very well established, but you don't read it anywhere unless I wrote it. Or Janine Roberts, who wrote a book about diamonds. Because if you look at the people involved in the diamonds coming out of Congo, connected to Israel, they've been involved in the Congos for years and years and years and years and years and years. And they're the same people. Moshe Snitzer. And I've named them, you know, as I say. And they're connected to Mr. Temple's man. So maybe there should be a two-man project. Gertler and Temple's man. Because if Mr. Temple's man dies before we get our hands on him, we got to grab a hold of somebody. Let's grab a hold of Mr. Gertler. What do you think? I don't know. Mr. Temple's man is pretty old. Mr. Gertler's about 37 years old. But as I said, Temple's man is not so old that he isn't involved. He's all over the place. He's involved in Africa America Institute, which is one of the ones that, this think tank that produces the propaganda that makes Americans see Congo the way they do. And he's involved in the Corporate Council on Africa. And again, these are big corporations, big money, that wants to go in, has gone in, wants to go in and rip the very heart out of Africa, which is rip the heart of the Congolese people out of Africa. So the Jewish establishment needs to be challenged, and that's a very difficult prospect in the United States, because the minute you challenge the Jewish establishment, you're labeled as anti-Semitic. This is not anti-Semitic when the Jewish establishment in the United States and Israel is causing a Holocaust in the Congo. So I'll make sure that I post my story as soon as possible called Israel and the Holocaust in Congo. And you can all read it, and you can get these names. But whose name do you have to remember? Maurice Tempelsman and Dan Gertler, the two-man project. So you had some Republican interests fighting against some Democrat interests from 1996 until today. Bush was supporting one side, and the Clintons and the Democrats are supporting Kagame and Museveni. That's why as soon as Bush is out and Obama's in, things are changing in the Congo. But they're not going to change for the betterment of the Congo, not until we understand what it means. So Mr. Tempelsman, in the 1960s, he also made sure that they overthrew President Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana. And both of them were overthrown because of diamonds. Both Nkrumah and Lumumba were killed because of diamonds, because of Tempelsman's diamonds interests.